When I first pulled up this chapter, actually, I was like, well, we've heard so much on gratitude, at least the space we play. And so I'm like, where could this go? So that was kind of my start.
And for me, when I wrote it, because I wanted something on gratitude, I'm like, what an overdone topic. And it seemed trite and trivial.
Yes.
And I'm like, what can I add to this topic? I mean, there's people who have like studied gratitude.
Ego. You're like,
ego's editing.
Everybody's said everything. Yeah. So anyway, let's get you started here and see where this goes. So a powerful question that I highlighted that seemed relevant right now was when you're covering the idea of beginner's gratitude. And I quote from Life's Messy, Live Happy here. If I recognize that I have abundance because of privilege, should I find ways to live with less privilege? Was I supposed to feel guilty about what I had in this beginner's gratitude process? So I grabbed that quote because I thought it was really powerful, because there's been a lot of conversation on privilege recently. And so I'd love to just hear where this takes you on your thoughts about being able to recognize the privilege we all have, which is a great practice, while not creating guilt over having used it on your journey or having gotten it. What does it have you thinking about to start to kick us off with beginner's gratitude?
Yeah. Well, first, guilt for me is...
maybe that's the wrong word I grabbed, like guilty for having been able to capitalize on it.
Yeah. I mean, guilt is something that is, I did something knowingly wrong and have guilt. I think when I started to talk about gratitude, and the reason I decided to leave it in the book, because I went back and forth, I'm like, hasn't everybody heard about gratitude? Like, what an overdone topic. And it was very important to me to talk about my 30-year gratitude journey, because it was coinciding with me trying to reflect and understand privilege. And, you know, our ego reacts to that in the beginning. You know, it's like, well, I've had hard times too. And it's like, not what anyone's saying about privilege. We're talking about privilege in the way, can you just acknowledge that you had fewer barriers than some other people had? Like, can you just acknowledge that? So it was important for me, and it was such an epiphany that I revisited. So I was, reading How to Be an Anti-Racist and listening to like Seeing White, and like, well, I'm writing this book, right? Everything is so activated, and we're finally having, screaming in our ears on TV conversations about structural racism and privilege. And so as I'm writing it, I'm like, all of those conversations in today's world really connected into a point that happened for me in my own gratitude. And that's why I thought it would be like important to share it. So I probably should